Hi, I'm Brittany Hall, Program Coordinator at Yukon Extension Solid Grounds. We are funded through a grant from the USDA BFRDP, and today we are talking about small spaces. So that is growing in limited acreage or in urban settings where you don't have a lot of space for growing. So we're talking to different farmers in different places around the state about how they use what space they've got. Hi, I'm Brittany Hall from Yukon Solid Ground, and today I'm here with Tanica Thompson from Natty Roots Garden, and we are talking about growing in small spaces. So Tanica, can you tell me a bit about your operation, what do you produce, and where can folks find your, what you're growing?
Well, I've been growing for a few years now. After the pandemic, I decided to start a small farmer's market in my front yard to help people who didn't want to go to the grocery store. They wanted fresh produce, and in order to help the people in my community, I grow for CT Food Share, and I also grow and sell at the farmer's market on Tuesday, West End Farmer's Market. I'm on Instagram, Natty Roots Gardens.
You're growing here and you're growing on a few other spots. Do you have an idea of about how much growing space that is, beds wise?
I would say in terms of acreage, I have between 1/4 to 1/2 acre.
Okay.
This spot is the only place I have the raised beds given to me by Yukon, give thanks. And the other space I have is at Knox. Well, it's with Knox. It's at the Watkinson community plot, and there I just grow in the ground. And I would say it's roughly about the same space as this.
Okay. So how are you using the space you have? I see here you've got raised beds.
Yes, I use raised beds. I'm working with trellises. I have a swimming pool over here. I've taken barrels that you use to ship overseas and I cut them in half and use them to grow big stuff like my sweet potato and strawberries.
What has been the role of DIY on your farm? It seems like that's a large part of what you're doing here.
Yes, as I wouldn't say I'm cheap. I'm frugal.
Yeah.
I like to spend my money wisely. So, and farming can cost a lot, especially the first half of the season. You're not making any money. So you need to find ways to make it happen. So I have used different things as trellises. I don't have them all up, but even these trellises, I bought them for not much, even though I'm finding out that they aren't the best. Yeah. But I use trellises that come up. I use PVC pipe that I had that's trellising that stuff over there. I went to Hartford Lumber and they gave me leftover stakes, and I got a whole bunch of stakes for little to nothing. I have the swimming pool. I found out somebody was throwing out a swimming pool, so I decided to use it. The barrel, I had a barrel already, so my husband cut it in half, and we cut 2 in half, one to do strawberries and the other for the sweet potato. So I use whatever I have available to try to make it work.
Have you used any resources, any books or websites or other farmers you've turned to when you've been coming up with some of these project ideas?
All the time. So the cattle panel, I found that online looking through Instagram or something, and saw how they use the cattle panels like a arch type thing.
I've seen that.
Farmers, yes, I go to many different people's homes and they've showed me how they've done stuff. I have my vermicompost over there from learning from other people and them teaching me that that's essential and a way to not use or not have to buy fertilizers. I go online and see how they make compost tea with the purslane. Oh yeah. Yeah. So I try to find different ways to do things without having to spend much money.
How does it work with your, right next door neighbors? Are your neighbors supportive? Are they what are you doing with your lawn? Has it been something you've had to deal with?
I actually have not had an issue with my neighbors. They mind their own business. A lot of neighbors actually have started their own garden. My neighbor next door, I gave him a raised bed and he's growing a beautiful small garden for himself.
That's wonderful.
So yeah.
Are there any special skills you've had to learn? Were you comfortable using power tools to build raised beds before you started doing this, or is it something you've had to learn?
It's something I've had to learn, and luckily with some grant money I did buy a power drill. Do I know how to use it properly? No. So that's something I do want to know more how to do, is being able to use power tools to get things done.
We all know with farming, unexpected things can come up. So has anything unexpected ever happened that you were delighted or dismayed by?
Yes, so this season has been very trying. As you can see, my cucumbers died. This whole season has been unexpected with the flooding. I lost all of my hot peppers, most of my cabbage due to rotting. So that was very unexpected.
So how have you had to like learn to deal with that?
Well, with the trellising, they're just dying. That's just it.
Yeah.
I can't do anything about that. They were coming up with blight. I tried to use the copper fungicide, help with that. Had a baking soda solution. Again, trying to be cheap, but it did work actually. That's for powdery mildew, some baking soda and soap.
Yeah.
So I found that was helping some ways. And with the dying plant, like my peppers, I just had to call it a loss.
So in regards to the trellising, you said that it did not work out this year. Do you have plans for next year, something else that you're going to try?
Yes. So I found this material is not working well because I think it's not strong enough, and when they get on it, it just is too heavy, either that or because of the chemicals on there. So I'm going to stick with the cattle paneling because it's sturdier, and I think that's going to help. I find the ones that are on the cattle panel are doing better than those ones.
How much are those cattle panels?
30 something for each.
Okay.
And it's like 16 feet long.
Oh, okay.
A high tunnel, that's the next thing that I have in the works. I want to change this space here and put a high tunnel. That way I can have more time during the season to grow stuff and use it as a greenhouse. Hopefully I can work it in a way that I can grow my stuff.
So is there anything you wish you knew before you got started?
I would like to have known, well, everything happens in its time, and I guess I learned things when I was supposed to learn them, but learning about grants, that's been vital in maintaining my farm and maintaining my garden. Other things I wish I would have known, that people are there to help you. You just have to reach out, because farmers are very giving, and I'm kind of to myself, so I find it very hard to ask people for help. So I wish that I would ask sooner for help than later. Knowing about pests.
Oh, yes.
Knowing about pests is also very essential, because if you know about the squash borer or any of the caterpillar bug before it kills your plant, then you'll be a lot more successful. Like even the cucumbers, I didn't realize it was blight taking them over. And so I think if I'd have caught it sooner, it wouldn't have spread so much.
So how do you handle watering here and at the other spaces you're growing at?
Well, because I have a lot of raised beds and everything is not in a one flat space, I just basically come out and water or pray it rains. There's been a lot of rain, so I don't have to come out as often as I do. But if it doesn't, I just come out here and water with my hose, or I use my barrels that I have here that are rainwater barrels, and I have a bucket. I fill it up with the hose here and water my garden with the rainwater. The other sites I have, because they're flat spaces, I use irrigation system that someone taught me how to do.
Like the drip line?
Drip line, yes. I have drip line.
Can you tell me about some of your future goals for this space, and if you're looking to grow in more than what you currently are?
Yes, my future goals are, again, like I want the greenhouse so that way I can grow more things. I would love to have my own nursery, because there's no nurseries in Hartford. There's nowhere that our community can go and buy plants to grow in their garden. They have to drive to Manchester, Bloomfield, somewhere far out, and not everybody drives. So I would love to have something in the community where people, and not only that, a lot of the greenhouses don't grow callaloo or specialty crops that people in this community necessarily like to eat.
So if money wasn't an issue, what are some of the projects? So you say the nursery, but like dreaming as big as you want. What do you want?
I would have a nursery. I would have set up like a few beds at the schools in my community, like at my children's school, so that way they can have a bed to grow stuff. Even things like simple as garlic. I would like to grow things that they can get an opportunity to see grow during their school year.
So you mentioned community a few times. Can you talk about the role of that in your garden here?
Well, sometimes my neighbors who have youth, they come through and they help out in my garden, and I can pay them. So that's bringing money to people in my community, and they're learning about things. Sometimes my children's friends come in, and it's a mandatory garden tour. They have to come through. They have to do a scratch and sniff, and you'd be surprised. A lot of them never have seen a tomato plant growing or a cucumber. So to them, this is something new.
So do you have any advice for other farmers who have access to a smaller space and they'd like to use it, but they don't know where to start?
I would say pots, growing vertically is essential, because you can't grow this way, you have to grow up.
Yeah.
I am still trying to learn and would like to learn more ways of growing vertically.